In this video, I'm going to look at how to print like Warhol. I'm using Warhol's series of Mao screen prints from 1972 as my influence. In particular, the way he combined photographic and hand-painted stencils. I think the aspects that are most interesting to me are his use of these painterly marks. You can see that there's a variation of layers and layers of colour that are brought together. In this print, we have approximately about 8 or 9 different layers to give that depth to the image. For my screen print, I'm going to create an image combining 4 to 5 layers of colour. For this screen print, I've chosen a press photo of Michael Manley, the Prime Minister of Jamaica in the 1970s and 80s. To make the photographic stencil, I create a high contrast black and white image and print it on tracing paper to the size I want to work with. To make the hand-painted stencil, I've placed the drafting film over the photographic stencil. I apply acrylic paint to block out the areas for the background layers. Like Warhol, I'm using loose brush strokes and I don't mind if it goes over the edges of the photograph. In his Mao series, you can see that the stencils don't line up, which adds to the painterly effect. So what I'm doing is mixing a pot of photo emulsion, adding a sensitizer to the emulsion, which turns it into a photographic emulsion that we can coat onto a screen that then becomes light sensitive. I pour a generous amount of emulsion into the coating trough and apply an even thin layer to the screen. I pop the screen into a drying cabinet and repeat the process for each screen. For this print, I'm using 3 screens, and I have to act quickly because the emulsion is sensitive to light. The screens are exposed in an exposure unit, and I'm exposing multiple images onto the same screen. The stencils go underneath the screen, printed side up with the screen on top. As the light shines up from underneath, everywhere that's black, the light can't get through, so the emulsion can't harden. Everywhere else, the light can get around, so it hardens the emulsion on the screen. It's important to wash down the exposed screen as quickly as possible to stop further exposure. Everywhere that was black on our image, where the light couldn't get through, the emulsion washes away, bringing it back to the original mesh, and that's the area that the ink can pass through. With screen printing, what you see is what you get. So essentially, you're making a positive rather than a negative. These screen printing inks are made from mixing acrylic paint with screen printing medium. By adding the medium, it changes the consistency, giving me more time to print before the ink dries. A screen printing table can be set up anywhere. All you need is a secure base with hinge clamps attached. When I'm printing multiple stencils, I mask the other images to stop ink from passing through. Before I print on paper, I print the image on a sheet of acetate. I mark the position of the image to help me line up the paper correctly. This is repeated with every layer. To start printing, I'll pull the squeegee towards me at an angle, applying firm pressure. I reflip the screen to reload the ink and stop it from drying, and remove my print. I repeat this until the first layer of my edition is finished. I use water to wash the ink off the screen, the registration sheet, and the squeegee. And I make sure my screen is fully dry before moving on to the next colour. In Warhol's work, he typically used very bright, vibrant commercial colours, influenced by his early career as a commercial artist in the 1950s. I'm using green as my next layer. Similar to the backgrounds in Warhol's Mao, it's not a solid block of colour, and you can see the loose painterly brushwork. Instead of creating a perfect edition, where all the prints are identical, I've taken a more playful approach, varying the background colours on each print. The final layer is the black. This is the layer that ties everything together. Up until now, the image has been quite abstract, so the black photographic layer gives it definition. For me, what comes across the most in this process is the power of seeing a repeated image of the same person. The beauty with screen printing is that even though it's a repetitive process, there's a lot of play that can come within the image. As artists, we never know how it's going to turn out, and that's where the excitement lies.